Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Hey guys. Hello, gorgeous. Are you ready? You look ready. It took us 8 parts to finally get here, but it's finally time to enter a world transformed.
I'm so excited, I'm shorting my own circuits!
We've taken a look at a lot of great lines from the 80s that were less successful than some of the boys' toys powerhouses, but now we'll be taking a look at a toy line that's just as popular today as it was in the 80s. The next 2 parts of the 80s Toy Museum virtual tour are dedicated to Hasbro's Transformers.
Magnificent!
Today's episode will look at the Masterpiece Collection.
Wow, what a wild-looking area.
Yeah, I never saw a place like this before.
While the original 80s toys will always have sentimental value, sometimes these originals receive an update that looks more like what's in my memory than what the actual toy looked like. These Masterpiece scale Transformers, some official ones by Takara and Hasbro, some third-party offerings, remained very true to the original toy design, as well as the cartoon design of the characters. No updates or reimaginings here. This is 100% pure reverence to the iconic originals. The only thing they couldn't replicate was the durability. These look fantastic, but are much more fragile than the originals. And that's saying something. Their main purpose in my collection is to look nice on the shelf. I don't mess with them or transform them. They can be transformed.
Agreed, but gently.
My method of displaying this Masterpiece collection is to have the robot mode front and center, the G1 vehicle incarnation beside it, and a box, either a reissue or repro G1 box or card, on display in behind, showing off some of that amazing box art I used to appreciate in the aisles of Toys R Us in the 80s. Since these fellows are supposed to be gigantic robots, I've also included a human in front of some of them for scale. Some of them a different version of Spike and Sparkplug, and some of them from the G.I. Joe Micro collection. And of course, some Energon cubes to keep them fully charged. This half of the wall is made up of characters from the first 2 years of Transformers, 1984 and 1985. Let's start with the top shelf. Some of my favorite instruments of destruction, the original Decepticons from the 84 lineup. In the top right corner, we've got the Seekers, Thundercracker, and Skywarp.
Alter attack angle! I'm with you!
And beside them is the Transformer with no known weaknesses.
And you can't deny it!
It's DX9's Mitron, their rendition of the mighty Megatron. Even though there were a few different...
Silence, miserable flesh creature!
Well...
Silence! You'll never get away with this, Megatron!
This is going to be a pretty boring virtual tour if I can't speak.
I do this only for the benefit of my Decepticons. It grieves me that you may also profit.
Thank you, mighty Megatron. There's a G1 Megatron in behind with all his attachments, and a world's smallest Transformers Megatron in front, because who doesn't love mass shifting? Then there's the treacherous Starscream, getting ready to scheme with Dr. Arkeville.
Megatron is through with you, but I am not.
And he's packing some serious firepower in the form of Megatron in gun mode.
Demolish this installation!
Then there's Soundwave and his tape army.
Dispatch Laserbeak to investigate. As you command, Megatron.
There's Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, Ravage, and the 2 mini-robots.
It's that dynamental delinquent Rumble!
And his punk pal Frenzy.
It might not seem like a very extensive Decepticon collection, but I've always been a bigger fan of the heroes.
Begin phase 2 of the operation. Disaster Code Blue. Assemble Strike Force, now!
Let's look at the Autobots, starting with Mirage. Hey, where is he? He was here just a second ago.
Over here! Sorry, Chief. I was just getting ready.
It's Ocular Max's Sphinx. Then there's the one who I've always considered the second place face of the Transformers behind Optimus Prime, Bumblebee.
Wow, I didn't know the big guy thought that much of me.
Haha, I'm not the only one, my small little friend.
So was we. That is me and my two holographic twins.
The Autobot Scout, Hound. Fans Toys Willis version. Hey Wheeljack, got any new crazy inventions?
Let's just say we're onto something that looks like a winner.
This Alternity Cliff Jumper is a nice stand-in that puts a smile on my face until I can upgrade it to a more G1 looking version.
I'm gonna blast that smile off his faceplate.
Make Toys Downbeat is a fantastic rendition of the Autobots music lover, Jazz.
How about number 1 on the bottom 40?
My auditory sensors!
Van Ratchet! You're fusing my audio sensor!
Phew. Okay. Next is the Autobot strategist, Prowl.
I've got the plan, if all of you've got the cast iron manifolds for it.
And Bad Cube's Grump, also known as Gears, also known as Mr. Sunshine.
So, when do we roll out of here?
Watch out, Decepticons. These brothers aren't just two of the fastest, sleekest looking Autobots.
When we're done with them, they're gonna wish they'd never been assembled.
It's Sideswipe and Sunstreaker, aka Omnigonix Spinout. Magneto's not the only master of magnetism.
Those spikes can't penetrate my repulsor field.
X-transbots Boost is a fine representation of Minibot Windcharger. And Bluestreak had some of the best advice about fighting.
Sometimes the best way to fight is just to hang on!
Until the official and third-party skids start being released, this alternator's skids with custom decals will serve as a decent placeholder.
Robotic insecticide?
What?
Robotic insecticide?
I guess that's all he can say.
We'll start him at the 10-yard line.
I stand corrected.
Can I swim?
He sure can. It's the Autobots naval specialist, in the form of Toy World's Wavebreak. The Deceps can't get the drop on the Autobots thanks to Red Alert's early warning system.
Decepticons, prepare for attack!
And a guy who could give Rhino a run for its money for black smoke production, it's Smokescreen.
Just call me the Autobot who isn't there.
And a bot I certainly relate to, the nature lover Beachcomber.
Relax, man. Remember, we're all one with the universe.
We're about to become one with the pavement, duck!
Represented by X-Transbots Arcrose. And a lot of people might think this guy's awfully full of himself, but it might just be because they don't got the juice.
Hey, relax! Some people got the juice and some don't.
It's Trax. And Perceptor taught us that brains are just as important as brawn.
It takes more than muscle to fight.
Represented here by Fans Toys Tesla. Huffer was a great reminder to not judge a book by its cover.
I'm not the biggest Autobot, but I'm one of the strongest!
It's the original Cubex Huff. And does anyone need a force field?
What you need is a force field!
It's Ocular Max Courageous, or Trailbreaker. And one of my all-time favorites, Prime's bodyguard, Ironhide, who could shoot liquid nitrogen from his fingertips. The swagger, the bravado, the true grit. This bot definitely had it.
Yeah, when you got it, use it!
If you want a masterpiece scaled brawn, the only option right now is Bad Cube's awesome Brawny. Take it or leave it.
I don't take so easy!
And Ratchet would rather be doing repairs than being on display.
I've got work to do.
Where there's smoke, there's Inferno. Ocular Max's Backdraft.
Are you ready, Inferno? Ready, ready, red alert! I'm always ready for action!
And the Decepticons no longer have a monopoly on the air thanks to Powerglide, X-Transbots glider.
Move over, blue skies! Here comes old Powerglide!
Sometimes I wonder if I'm putting enough effort into the 80s toy museum.
You are! You're building my greatest creation!
Your greatest creation? Meet Grapple, the humble master builder, and his buddy, who's working on some renovations for the toy museum, X-Transbots Pian, but Transformers fans know him by a different name.
They call me Hoist.
X-Transbots also blasted into the stratosphere with Claw 2. Just be careful on re-entry, Cosmos.
Oh no! My paint job's ruined!
Keith's Fantasy Club's Transistor perfectly captures Blaster, both visually and audibly.
I got the right tools for the job.
My brain transistors!
I know. It's frying my brain transistors too.
Blaster, turn it off! Phew. Next is a sight to behold.
Look at the size of those things! Great Cybertrons! Holy Heterodyne!
It's Fans Toys Iron Dinobots, also known as
The Dinobots! They can take more punishment than any of them!
These are amazing interpretations of the lovable, lumbering dino dolts. There's Soar, better known as
Don't say whoopee! Go!
When I saw Sever, their version of Snarl, I said,
Like old Bunch! Me Grimlock smart!
and that's why he's the leader. It's Grinder, better known as
Me Grimlock!
There's the Dinobots philosopher, Scoria, aka Slag.
Words make sense!
He sure has a way with them. And Stomp, also known as
Oh, sludge-like.
Mike Like 2, like whole bunch. And then there's the bottom shelf.
Can anyone join the party, or do we need an invitation?
Dakatoy's Kronos is definitely on my invite list. I love this version of Skyfire, both aesthetically as well as the price. I may be in the minority, but I actually prefer Kronos' bot mode over Fans Toys Phoenix. There's the Autobot Pathfinder, Warpath.
The only thing you have to worry about is zap! How big a path you want! Bam!
In the form of Bad Cube's War Dog. And whoa, Nelly. This guy.
Anticipation high.
The Behemoth. Fans Toys Terminus Giganticus. Better known by the name that strikes fear into the sparks of all Decepticons, as well as Autobots.
Omega Supreme.
Whatever you call him.
Results same.
When I heard Fans Toys was doing an MP-scaled Omega, I knew he'd be the centerpiece of my collection.
Compliment appreciated.
Well, maybe not literally the centerpiece. He's too heavy to stand on a shelf. But even on the bottom shelf, he's the first thing that grabs my attention every time I look at this section. Looking forward to doing in-depth reviews of both G1 Omega, one of my favorite toys as a kid, as well as this monstrous monument of might.
Talk excessive. Time limited.
You got that right, big guy. We need to cover the measuring stick, the masterpiece transformer by which all others are judged.
Now he is the first of our new defenders, Optimus Prime.
Have I mentioned Optimus Prime as one of my biggest heroes? Maybe not in this video, but often in others. Prime inspired me because he wasn't just about might makes right. Wisdom, compassion, and empathy were just as important to him as being physically dominant. One of the most shining examples of a peaceful warrior in pop culture I've ever seen. Always dropping valuable life lessons that may not be easy, but that's the whole point.
Perhaps someday you'll see that there are more important things in life than revenge.
Building character takes effort and sacrifice. And to me, MP10 isn't just a toy to be played with. It's a symbol of virtue, of the potential we all have within us to stop being so self-absorbed and make service to others our purpose in life.
Mushy, but true.
I mean, his dying words were,
"Till all are one."
The irony is that there is no till. We already are. But most people aren't aware. So maybe his final words should have been, "Till all are aware we are one." We're all connected in some way, and any hostile act towards another is actually a hostile act to yourself as well. The snide comments, the insults, the bullying, the cold shoulders, grudges, gossiping, bickering, threats, and violence. It's all self-destructive because what you do to someone else, you do to yourself. Maybe not physically, but there's a mental consequence, as well as a spiritual one, whether you believe it or not. That's why Prime always used fighting as a last resort, and accepted the consequences whenever he did. Most people just aren't aware of how intrinsically connected we all are. Prime was. And another thing Prime was connected to was his trailer. How's that for a segue? For this Masterpiece edition, they went all out with beautiful detailing with nice metallic paint, nice update of the command center that still strongly resembles the original, and of course, Transformers' answer to R2-D2, Roller. I love the original, and I love that there's a bigger, more posable version of him now to display alongside the timeless classic. All of these classics. It's obvious how much love went into the sculpts and designs of all of these. They were made by fans, for fans, and I have to tip my hat to all of the passionate, talented folks who helped give these Cybertronians new bodies that still capture the spirit of the 80s originals. And that's the Masterpiece Collection. We'll keep orbiting Cybertron in the next episode of this 12-part series with the G1 Collection, showcasing all of the classics from the 80s. Want to support the channel? Head over to patreon.com/MichaelMercy to help out and receive Patreon rewards. Share if you like the video, and to join the tribe, hit subscribe. Optimus, will you do the honors?
Roll!